Have you ever heard of a country where entire villages hire strange men to help their daughters grow up? Or where climate change actually becomes the reason behind early marriages? Sounds unbelievable, right? This is a nation that once made the world laugh over debates about banning public farting, where men were not allowed to grow long hair or wear skirts, and yet also shocked the world when its president sold the presidential jet and luxury cars just to buy corn and save people from starvation. So what other bizarre facts and taboos exist in Malawi? Let's dive into 15 shocking truths and taboos in Malawi right now. Number 15. Villages hiring men to help girls grow up. In remote southern Malawi, especially in the Nsima district, a controversial tradition called cleansing rituals still exists. It marks the coming of age for girls. Families send their daughters to so-called initiation camps, where elders and older women teach them about community behavior, their roles as wives and mothers, and family responsibilities. What's most disturbing is that many villages hire an adult man called a hyena to sleep with these girls for 3 nights as part of the ritual. He's usually paid around $4 or $7 each time, a small amount to outsiders, but significant in Malawi, where the average income is only about $600–700 a year. One infamous man named Avina, about 40 years old with 2 wives and 5 children, admitted he had initiated over 100 girls. Why would such a practice exist, villagers believe? If girls skip this cleansing, disease or disaster could strike the entire community. One woman confessed in a documentary, "I didn't want to take part, but refusing would bring misfortune to my family." The Malawian government and organizations like UNICEF, UN Women, and Save the Children have fought hard to stop this harmful ritual. Laws now ban it, and many initiation camps have been transformed into places that teach life skills, personal hygiene, and safe sex education. Yet in remote areas like Nsima, the practice hasn't completely disappeared. What do you think? Terrifying, strange, or just shocking? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 14. Early marriages triggered by climate change. It might sound crazy, but in southern Malawi, droughts that crack the earth and floods that wash away crops don't just destroy livelihoods, they also push families into desperate choices. With no money left and feeding children becoming impossible, some parents marry off their daughters early as a survival strategy, one less mouth to feed and a hope for stability. Some girls even choose it themselves, believing marriage is a way out of poverty. If I stay home, we'll starve. I just hope marriage changes, something one girl told investigators from an international project called the Brides of the Sun. According to activist Macbane Mkandawire, 30–40% of child marriages in Malawi are directly linked to natural disasters. The government itself admitted the link in a report after the historic 2015 floods, calling early marriage a side effect of climate change. The problem is harder to control because many marriages aren't legally registered, just verbal agreements between families. UNICEF's 2015 warning painted an even darker future if this trend continues. Child marriages in Africa could double, reaching 310 million by 2050. That's a staggering number, showing how climate change isn't just destroying crops, it's stealing education, dreams, and youth from millions of girls. Number 13. The farting ban. It sounds like a joke, but in 2011 Malawi became an international punchline when its parliament debated whether farting in public should be a punishable offense. The proposal was part of the Air Pollution Control Act, originally meant to stop tire-burning garbage fires and toxic smoke. But the vague phrase "harmful air in the streets" led the justice minister to suggest it might apply to bodily gas too. The media pounced. BBC, The Guardian, Reuters, even ABC News ran mocking headlines. Malawi to ban public farting. Thousands of people online joked, "If that's true, New York will need more prisons." Or in India, trains would never run on time again. One travel blogger laughed about locals shrugging it off. "We still fart. The police will never catch us." In reality, no one has ever been convicted under this law. The harshest penalty discussed was a few months in jail, but it was never enforced. So what do you think? Ridiculous lawmaking or a strange attempt at protecting the environment? And honestly, could you really hold it in? Share your opinion below. Number 12. The president who sold a jet and luxury fleet to help the people. In 2013, Malawi's President Joyce Banda, the first woman to hold the highest office in southern Africa, stunned the world when she sold the presidential jet, a Dassault Falcon 900EX originally bought for about $22 million, for just $15 million. This wasn't an act of lavish generosity, but a desperate necessity. The government used the money to buy local maize and subsidize food for citizens during a hunger crisis. This decision was part of her broader austerity plan, showing her pledge to govern for the people. She cut her own salary by 30% and redirected funds to healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Still, the move was not without controversy. Critics later accused her government of failing to fully disclose how the sale proceeds were spent, and the public demanded transparency. Beyond this dramatic decision, Joyce Banda became known as a true people's leader. She founded multiple organizations supporting women and children, including the Joyce Banda Foundation, the National Association of Business Women, and the Young Women Leaders Network. These initiatives provided education for thousands of children, livestock support, healthcare access, and microloans. Her bold leadership also made her an international symbol, the first to lead Malawi, one of the few women to head an African nation, listed by Forbes among the world's most powerful women, and featured in the BBC's 100 Women. Number 11. Malawi's hidden tourism industry. Behind its image as the warm heart of Africa, Malawi also has a lesser-known and controversial side, what some reports call special tourism. Before COVID-19, women from Europe, especially Italy and the Netherlands, frequently traveled to Malawi seeking romantic encounters with local beach boys. Scenes of older European women walking hand in hand or being openly affectionate with young Malawian men were not uncommon. Hotspots for this type of tourism include Nkata Bay, Salama Mangochi, and Karonga areas along the vast Lake Malawi, which stretches like an inland sea with white sand beaches, tall palms, and glowing sunsets. While foreign tourists officially came for vacation, there were often unspoken arrangements behind the scenes. Many older Western women, often struggling to find partners back home, felt desired in Malawi, where traditional culture values fuller-figured women as symbols of wealth and health. On the other hand, many young Malawian men dreamed of marrying foreign women as a ticket out of poverty. For both sides, the relationships became a mix of romance and economics. According to the local outlet Face of Malawi, this phenomenon has grown with the rise of tourism. Some local surveys estimated that hundreds of foreign women each year take part in this special tourism, especially during peak travel season. Number 10. A country without nightlife. While many African capitals like Nairobi, Kenya, or Johannesburg, South Africa, glow with lights and stay lively until midnight, Malawi is strikingly the opposite, a country with virtually no nightlife. Because of its strong agricultural lifestyle, Malawians wake up early for farm work and end their day when the sun goes down. By 7 or 8 p.m., most shops, restaurants, and markets are closed. Once darkness falls, towns slip into silence, broken only by crickets and the faint glow of oil lamps in rural villages. Even in the capital, the Lilongwe nightlife is limited. Aside from a few central streets with bars and restaurants catering to international visitors, most areas shut down early. Tourists often describe it as strange. In Europe, 8 p.m. is when the fun begins, but in Malawi, it's already bedtime. This creates a slow, quiet rhythm of life, peaceful for some visitors, but surprising for those expecting late-night buzz. Some travel bloggers even nickname Malawi the land of the sun, because life here only feels truly alive while daylight is still on the horizon. Number 9. The Lake of Stars, with the most fish species on Earth. If there's one place on Earth that leaves people stunned and questioning their eyes, it's Lake Malawi, also called the Lake of Stars. On moonlit nights, the water reflects shimmering light, looking as if millions of stars have fallen into the lake, making many visitors feel like they've stepped into the Milky Way. It's no coincidence NASA once gave it a poetic nickname, the Calendar Lake, because it stretches 365 miles long, like the days in a year, and 52 miles wide, like the weeks. But the wonder doesn't end there. Lake Malawi holds 20% of the world's freshwater fish species, with more than 1,000 varieties, many of them found nowhere else on the planet. It's considered the world's fish bank and a lifeline for millions living along its shores. Locals have a unique way of fishing. They sit in small boats without paddles, using only their hands to splash the water and push forward. For international visitors, this scene feels both primitive and fascinating, almost like an endurance sport. Yet the lake's beauty comes with a paradox. Overfishing has forced the Malawian government to impose seasonal bans to protect fish stocks. Still, many poor fishermen risk penalties by sneaking out onto the water, knowing it's the only way to feed their families. Number 8. Malawi bans cabinet members from traveling abroad. In most countries, ministers and high-ranking officials traveling abroad is routine. For example, in the U.S. alone, the State Department spent more than $400 million on global trips in 2022. But in Malawi, one of the world's poorest nations, President Lazarus Chakwera shocked observers by banning his entire cabinet, including himself, from traveling overseas at government expense. This decision, made in November 2023, came right after the Malawian kwacha lost 44% of its value, and the country secured a $174 million IMF bailout. What stood out was how strict the ban was. It wasn't just a recommendation, it was mandatory. Even major events like COP28 in Dubai were canceled for Malawian officials. Only cases deemed absolutely necessary could go forward, and they required the president's direct approval. Unlike wealthy countries where leaders travel abroad to sign agreements and expand trade, Malawi chose to halt such diplomatic trips in order to prioritize domestic needs. The ban lasted until the end of the financial year in March 2024. Since then, the government has eased it slightly for essential diplomacy, but strict controls on public spending remain firmly in place. Number 7. A poor nation with a surprising number of international volunteers. Malawi is among the poorest countries in the world, with an average annual income of only about $600–700. Yet, in a striking paradox, this small nation has become one of Africa's most popular destinations for international volunteers. Every year, thousands of volunteers from the US, Europe, and even Australia travel to Malawi to join community development, education, and healthcare projects. So why does such a poor country attract so much goodwill? First, Malawi is globally known as the warm heart of Africa. Lonely Planet and National Geographic both rank Malawans among the friendliest people in the world. Many travelers have shared that when they arrived in a village, they weren't just greeted warmly, they were invited to eat and even stay overnight, despite their hosts having very little. This openness makes it easy for volunteers to integrate, often calling Malawi their second home. In countless villages, international volunteers have become a familiar sight. They teach English, build schools, dig wells, and even farm side by side with locals. From one perspective, Malawi gains valuable human resources and knowledge. From another, volunteers leave with deep lessons about sharing resilience and the strength of community. Number 6. Open defecation. Still common. One of the most shocking realities for many Western visitors to Malawi is that open defecation remains widespread, almost unbelievable in scale. According to the World Health Organization, more than 80% of Malawi's population, about 17 million out of 20 million people, still relieve themselves outdoors every day. In remote rural areas, entire villages exist without a single public toilet, forcing people to use forests, riverbanks, or fields instead. This practice isn't just unhygienic, it's dangerous for public health. Malawi suffers recurring cholera outbreaks, especially during the rainy season when waste contaminates water sources. Between 2022 and 2023 alone, thousands of cases were recorded. The government and international organizations have launched repeated End Open Defecation campaigns, but progress has been painfully slow due to lack of funds and infrastructure. Today, modern toilets are common in big cities like Lilongwe and Blantyre. But in the countryside, outdoor defecation remains an unwritten rule of life. Number 5. The only river flowing from Lake Malawi is full of hippos. In the heart of Africa lies a river that may seem modest in size, but carries the power of an entire ecosystem, the Shire River, the only outlet of Lake Malawi, which spans 11,400 square miles. Flowing south for more than 250 miles before joining the Zambezi River in Mozambique, the Shire creates one of the most extraordinary natural scenes on the continent, the Kingdom of Hippos. An estimated 10,000 hippos live along its waters, so dense in places that within just a few hundred yards, entire herds can be seen packed together, often alongside crocodiles over 15 feet long. The Shire's highlight is its passage through Liwan National Park, one of Malawi's most important wildlife reserves. Unlike Kenya or South Africa, where safaris are done by jeep here, visitors board boats that drift along the river, watching giant hippos, yawning elephants coming to drink, and hundreds of migratory birds, herons, egrets, kingfishers lining the banks. Luwand alone is home to more than 12,000 elephants and over 400 bird species, making it a paradise for wildlife viewing. Hippos in the Shire spend up to 16 hours a day submerged to escape the heat, coming ashore only at night to graze. During the day, tourists can spot dozens of round rock-like heads bobbing on the surface. Beyond its beauty, the Shire also provides 95% of Malawi's electricity through hydropower. Number 4. Bans on long hair and short skirts. Few people know that Malawi once endured a period of fashion dictatorship under President Hastings Kamuzu Banda, who ruled from 1964 to 1994. During the 1970s and 80s, Malawian women were forbidden from wearing short skirts, mini dresses, tight pants, or trousers. Men, meanwhile, were banned from having long hair or beards. Authorities claimed these were Western symbols that clashed with African culture. Police and Banda's Young Pioneers youth movement had the power to arrest women on the street for wearing skirts above the knee, sometimes even tearing their clothes and forcing them to wrap traditional chitenges instead. Men with hippie-style hair or thick beards were dragged out and shaved bald on the spot. It didn't stop at fashion. The Banda regime also banned Western books, foreign films, and even rock music, turning Malawi into a near-closed society, where clothing, hairstyles, and cultural tastes were tightly policed. Thankfully, after Banda's fall in 1994, these oppressive laws were abolished. Today, Malawian women freely wear jeans, short skirts, and modern outfits without fear. In Lilongwe and other cities, young people dress much like their peers worldwide. Though in rural areas, women often still prefer traditional dresses by choice, not by force. Number 3. A country half inside. Another country. On the world map, few places are as paradoxical as Malawi. This small nation owns Likoma Island, which is fully under Malawian sovereignty, but it's completely surrounded by Mozambican waters. In other words, to reach the island, you must cross Mozambique's waters, but you don't need a Mozambique visa, only Malawian documents. It's one of the world's strangest island enclaves, where part of one country's territory sits entirely inside another's. Standing on Likoma, you'll see Mozambique in every direction, yet the flag flying above is still Malawi's. On this island of just about 10,000 residents stands St. Peter's Cathedral, a massive stone church, often called the Notre Dame of Africa. Built in 1905, it can hold nearly 800 worshippers, an absurd number compared to the island's tiny population. Likoma is also known as Malawi's hidden paradise. With white sandy beaches, turquoise waters as clear as the Maldives, and far fewer crowds, it's a dream destination. It's also one of the best diving spots in the world to see cichlid fish, a rare species found only in Lake Malawi and protected by UNESCO. No wonder Kayamawa Resort, located here, was once ranked among Condé Nast Traveler's top 10 most romantic resorts on Earth. Number 2. Malawi. Once cooked a giant pot of Nsima. In Malawi, the national dish isn't pizza like in the US, or hamburgers and hot dogs. It's Nsima, a thick porridge made from corn flour. It's usually molded into firm patties and eaten with vegetables, fish, or meat. On average, Malawians consume more than 110 pounds of corn each year just for Nsima. That's more than double the amount of bread an average American eats in the same period. To celebrate this staple food, Malawi once staged an extraordinary event, cooking a giant pot of Nsima to set a Guinness World Record. The pot measured more than 10 feet across, nearly as tall as an SUV, and took dozens of men with wooden paddles rowing as if they were on a boat to stir it continuously. Imagine a mini swimming pool filled with steaming Nsima, enough to feed an entire small town in one feast. The event drew not only locals, but also international media, turning a humble dish into a symbol of national pride. For Malawians, Nsima isn't just food, it's the glue that binds families and communities together. And what about you? If you visited Malawi, would you try a bowl from this Guinness-sized pot? Comment Nsima and let us know. Number 1. A country with 2 capitals. Normally, a capital city represents the face of a nation concentrating its political, economic, and cultural power. Washington, D.C. In the U.S., London in the UK, and Paris in France all symbolize national strength and identity. But Malawi is a fascinating exception. This tiny country has 2 capitals, one political and one economic. Lilongwe, chosen as the political capital in 1975, hosts parliament, the presidential residence, and government ministries. Yet with just over 1.1 million people, it still feels like a large town. Quiet streets, tree-lined neighborhoods, and none of the skyscrapers or fast-paced energy Americans usually picture in a capital. By contrast, Blantyre, with roots dating back to the 19th century and also around 1 million residents, is the true economic hub. It's where banks, multinational companies, and bustling markets thrive, making it far livelier than Lilongwe. This split isn't just about geography, it shapes daily life. In Lilongwe, life is slower and less pressured, suiting officials and their families. In Blantyre, the rhythm is faster. Trade is vibrant, incomes are higher, and modern services are in greater demand. Malawi may be small, but it holds a treasure trove of shocking and unbelievable stories, from controversial traditions to bold political choices. Which fact surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next journey of discovery.